Welcome back, everybody, to the Bucs Planet podcast, and I am, of course, your host, Will Neely, and we're in a new room. We're in a new room today. It's exciting. I was expecting my roommate not to be in the dorm tonight, but he was, so I'm having to record in the really ugly study room in my dorm building. So here's where class is today. All right. So I'm not gonna lie, guys. Today is a lot. This is a lot today. If you're new to this channel, or if you don't know football that well and you're kind of checking this out, I don't know if I'd watch this one. This one's gonna get kind of technical, because there's a lot to unpack on this one. I've done so much research that it's to the point where it was just a lot. I mean, for the first time in really a while, I was just watching film for hours every single day, and it paid off because now I know pretty much everything there is to know about this. And by the way, if you see this thing on my tooth and it kind of looks like it's shining, it's just the flashlight on my phone that's facing me because the lighting is really not that good in here, especially I'm filming this very late and we have a lot to get through. So there's nothing in my teeth, that is just the shining of the light. So let's start off with talking about the Bucs offense versus the Packers defense. So the last time they played, everyone knows it was a blowout. That's, surface level. Everyone knows it was a blowout. It was a great game to watch, obviously. And here's the thing that's kind of interesting about Green Bay is they're kind of the opposite of us. They run zone really well. They're not that good in man. They're a hardcore zone football team, and they're really good at it. They have two good safeties, and this will prevent the Bucs from having the big plays down the field that really our offense requires for everything to be able to work. And because all the time, it's third and one or it's second and short, and we're going 50 yards down the field. It's like, well, why are we doing that? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And a lot of those big plays are what are kind of the catalyst of our team. We don't have a very efficient offense usually. We usually have a really, how should I say it? An inefficient, explosive offense where it's kind of like the Chiefs are really relying on the big play, because without it, you can kind of get shut down easily. You have a lot of 3-play touchdowns, but then you have a lot of 3-and-outs. So that's kind of like the issue that we're playing with in this game, because the Packers, I think, will defend the deep ball. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to complete on any deep balls the whole game. It's just the overall consistency of the deep ball. It's not going to be there every single time like it normally is. Or not like it normally is, but just how often we throw it, and that's going to be because of the fact that not only do they run zone, and they run a lot of cover 2 zone, and their safeties are both good, but our players can still kind of because at the end of the day, good receivers are always better than good defensive backs. I don't know why. That's just kind of how it used to not be like this. But the NFL is just so much more offensive generated now that if you have a great receiving core, it's always going to be better than a great defensive backs core. It's kind of weird. That doesn't mean that the defensive backs won't ever win, but you'll get a few plays where, we had a couple where, Chris Godwin makes a great catch, Rob Gronkowski makes a great catch, even though it's good coverage. And that could happen. But the overall, the deep ball is going to be taken away, I think. And so the Bucs are going to have to be able to take what's underneath. They're going to have to kind of do what they did against Washington, except they even had a big play in that game, and there might be one in the Packers game. But they're going to have to be able to attack zone, which is this is almost my message to the offense. You have to attack this defense similarly to pretty much exactly the same how you attacked Washington in the wild card round, because they play a lot of zone. They're good at it. They're disciplined. They're well coached. They don't run zone quite as well as Washington does, but their players are more talented. So it's really like they run zone a little bit worse, but then they're more talented. So it's like kind of evens out at the end of the day, I think. And Jair Alexander, he's a great corner. He's great at reading the run. He's great at getting off blocks. He's great at covering. he could give Mike Evans some trouble, and especially without Antonio Brown. I mean, not that out of all the receivers to lose, I think I would have probably picked him. I think he's the least, vital to the offense, so to speak. I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are obviously the most important too. And I think Scotty Miller honestly has more of a, just because of the deep threat of his speed, I think that makes him slightly more, from a game planning standpoint, more important to the team than Antonio Brown. Not that I'm saying one's really better than the other, just how the team, the depth of the team at the receiver position and the speed. He's really the only receiver that has speed. So if we lose him, then it's kind of like, now they know that we're not going to just run right by him, right? So he might make great contested catches, right? The best jump ball receiver in the league, Mike Evans. But, the speed element I think is really important, which is why I'm glad Scotty Miller is going to be, I think he'll do a good job at filling in for Antonio Brown. And because Antonio Brown, I mean, he only had one catch on 4 targets for 10 yards last week, and then he got injured in the second quarter, and we still won that game. So I don't think that's a huge loss. And, we're getting Vita Vea back, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So, yeah, this is interesting. I have my notes on my computer this time, which is kind of weird. So the biggest two things that the Bucs need to do, obviously you have to run the ball. That's kind of one of those things that's like really redundant. Something probably needs to go unsaid, but if I don't say it, some of you guys chew me. So obviously you need to run the ball. And again, the offense needs to be more efficient. Sorry about that again, guys. I don't know why my computer just randomly ends the video for no apparent reason. But again, look, the Bucs need to be able to attack the zone. Brady made a living, his literally entire career, he made a living off of attacking zone coverage. And that's what he needs to do again. And so our receivers need to know that, not to be greedy, not to get, put the ego aside, take what they give you, and be efficient. That's my message to the offense. And that was kind of like the, it's really the defense I'm more going to talk about today, even though they were so dominant last time. And here's the thing. The Packers have a great offense, and we played fantastic against them last time. And the pass rush was good, and they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They have probably this year they have the best offensive line in the NFL, and we dominated them up front. And the Bucs haven't been able to get a pass rush in weeks. In fact, that's actually the biggest issue I have with the Buccaneers defense coming into this game is the pass rush. There's none. We've never been able to get to Drew Brees in his entire 20-year career, so that was almost like just guaranteed expected. But even against, Washington, we made that guy Heineke look like Michael Vick. Yeah, we had no pass rush that game. We haven't had pass rush really the last few weeks of the season. It's, we've been playing better, but the pass rush, that's the one thing about the defense that's not good. And it's going to need to be good again because Aaron Rodgers is hot right now. He's mad. They drafted that quarterback. You don't like it. I don't really like Aaron Rodgers personally. But he's good and he's mad. And we need to be able to get that pressure. That was the main reason we won last game is because of two things. The pressure and our cornerbacks looking unbelievable. That's why we won the game. And this is going to be probably what people are going to call a hot take. And it's not really a hot take. Like people, I don't understand. Like if you watch film, you can come to like objective conclusions, but no one watches film is the issue. And that's really where all you need to know about football, that's where it is. All those people sometimes that you see that go up on those shows and they talk, they always say, well, I think this, and they don't watch film. They just watch the game. They look at the basic statistics, but they don't actually watch the film because it's really key to look at that. They call it the all-22 camera angle where it's like the wide shot of the entire field. So you can kind of see what's actually developing and like what plays, what the read is, all that kind of stuff. It's really it's been eye-opening to me how much more I know about football now than I did even like 6 months ago, and because I've just put in so much work and I've been looking at that, and now I really understand that like how a lot of the sport works better. And my point basically is that here's something that's kind of interesting that I noticed is Carlton Davis matches up really, really well against wide receivers that rely on route running as their main skill. And that sounds kind of weird. Like what do you mean? there's sometimes receivers rely on size, like mostly, Mike Evans. Sometimes they rely on speed, Tyreek Hill. And some of them relied on route running, right? So that'd be kind of like Antonio Brown, or in this case, Devontae Adams. And Carlton Davis, when he's on man coverage specifically, plays great against those type of receivers. And he matches up really, really well on Devontae Adams. It doesn't mean Devontae Adams isn't going to potentially have a big game, because he doesn't always have to be lined up on Carlton Davis. But, I mean, he really locked him down. Those slant routes, Carlton Davis, I'm not even joking, and I was watching a lot of stuff on this. Carlton Davis is probably the best corner in the NFL at defending slant and corner routes. He's better than Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he's amazing at defending those slants. It's crazy, because those are the really the gimme routes, right? And that kind of eggs on the joke of he covered Michael Thomas, otherwise known as Slant Boy, because all he does is run slants, which is kind of true, to be honest. I've kind of been watching. That's not completely true, but it's kind of true to the point where it's you don't really run that far down the field. And that's why Carlton Davis locked Michael Thomas up. And of course, now they're going to be oh, well, he was injured. And we don't know how much that actually affected the game. Probably did some, but I mean, he still showed not even a single catch. I mean, come on. That was give tip of the hat to Carlton Davis. And I think Carlton Davis honestly kind of has the edge at this point in just terms of if we're playing man press and Carlton Davis gets his hands on the receivers, he's seeing the corner routes, he's seeing the slant routes. I think Carlton Davis can really have a good game against Devontae Adams. Now, it could obviously go the other way, but from what I've seen on film so far, Carlton Davis is good against those type of receivers, and he matches up well against Devontae Adams, who's been arguably the best receiver in the NFL this year. And no other corners really matched up well against him like Carlton Davis does. I would say Carlton Davis is not, since it's Devontae Adams who's going off this year, I would say it's like an okay matchup. It's okay. But everyone else has been just a horrible matchup. So that's why I'm really impressed with this. And so that's something good that, we need to build off of. Now, one big thing is I always talked about we have to call man press. That was against the Saints, and I kept calling it, or I kept calling for them to call that defense. I did all against Washington. I've done it for a while. And so here we come to an interesting conclusion here. Do we do it again against the Packers? And you would probably say yes. Yes, you do it again, because it's the only really defense we're good at. Even if it's not a good matchup, we should still do it because the Packers are great against man coverage, but we're only really good at running man coverage, so you might as well kind of sink with the ship, so to speak. But I don't know, actually. This is I've really tossed and turned about this, because the last time when we beat the Packers, we actually kind of ran both. We ran a lot of man and we ran a lot of zone. And a lot of the reasons why we did good against them is because they had a lot of man beater type of plays, like rub routes, distracting concepts, like with Devontae Adams going in. They had a specific play. Devontae Adams kind of runs up the field, kind of cuts in, gets Carlton Davis to pull that out towards the inside, and then Aaron Jones slipped out the backfield and went 30 yards down the field on the other side. And then it ended up being a completed or an incomplete pass because Aaron Jones caught the ball, but he ended up having a foot out of bounds. But that was really just kind of luck more than it was, a good defensive play, obviously. So the Packers really came out with, and that's why the first couple drives, they were going right down the field against us. If you remember, they were up 10-0 in the first few minutes of the game. And the Packers really just only game planned for man, and when we started running more zone, they kind of got lost. It was interesting. That was the best zone defense we've ever played, ever that I've ever seen the Bucs play in my 10 years of since I've been consciously following football and understanding it. I have never seen the Bucs play that well in zone defense like they did last time they played the Packers when we blew them out. And they're going to need to probably do that again, because the issue is you cannot, against teams like the Saints, where Drew Brees' arm, he can't really beat you with his arm, and there's a lot of other he can't scramble, right? Because when you're a man, the quarterback's not accounted for. Aaron Rodgers can scramble a little, not that it's a huge deal, but he can scramble a little. And it was a perfect way to beat the Saints. It was a perfect way to beat the Redskins. The Washington football team. And, which, of course, we didn't call it against them, but, it would have been a perfect way. Aaron Rodgers, it's so tough. We're gonna have to be able to do both. I would say my game plan that I would advise Todd Bowles is, to an extent, you do have to sync with the ship. You have to call man press mostly, most of the time. But I would say you need a solid amount of zone coverage in there. And I already know that I'm going to be posting on my story on Snapchat. I'm going to be like, why are we running zone? Carlton Davis out of position. Why are we doing this? And it's just one of those things where it's like you kind of have to eat your Wheaties. You know what I mean? If you keep only calling man against Aaron Rodgers, who's probably going to win MVP. And that offense that's probably really pissed off after we blew them out last time, and that's going to be prepared for man again after we played it all last week mostly. You kind of have to just mix in zone, even if it doesn't work. You have to at least do it to kind of just keep them on their toes, and which we're going to do. I'm not worried about that. I just get worried when we only play zone, and that's mostly what we call. I'm definitely not saying mostly call zone. I'm saying mostly call man and do I say a solid amount of zone or do I say a slightly solid? I'm going to say you call mostly man and a slightly solid amount of zone. That's going to be that's my defensive game plan if I'm Todd Bowles. And I'm sure, honestly, I think that's what he's going to do because that's kind of what we did last time and it worked, so I feel like we're going to do it again. You know what I mean? And Todd Bowles isn't an idiot. Sometimes it kind of seems like he is, but playoff Todd Bowles, I kind of like it, except for the Washington game, which is just a debacle. But we still won, and now we're in the NFC Championship game. So, that's kind of crazy. The Washington game was closer than the Saints game, and I thought the Saints could have gone to the Super Bowl. So it was the NFL's weird, it's very weird, but I like it because it's very unpredictable. Okay, next. So. Let me go to my notes because I thought I had memorized and I just wrote an unlimited amount of things. Okay, yeah. I was wondering when we were going to get to this. Okay, so another big reason besides the pass rush why we won, and I said it was because corners, were going off, which they were, and I'm going to explain why they went off. Because it literally looked like we had the no-fly zone Denver Broncos defense combined with the Legion of Boom defense combined with the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. That's what our defense looked like in that game, and it was kind of all right, are we that good at defense? I don't know, but I'll tell you why. The Packers were which is really interesting from a team that's run by Aaron Rodgers, and the fact that we were the team that discovered it, which is interesting. The Packers were really an open book on film. I went back and watched the the Bucs Packers game. I was like, it looked like we knew every single play they ran. So I was like, why are we doing that? How do we know every single play? Normally we're completely lost. How do we know every single play they're running? And you can kind of tell on film when you know that they watch film, because people always say, how do you know a player watches film? When there's a play happening and a player's already where the play's going to be, even though it hasn't happened yet, that's when you know a player watched film because he's, saw that play being run on film and now he's, executing it. Like blowing up a screen pass or a couple other things. I started noticing on film that our corners, when they would run certain routes, our corners were already in position for when they break on the routes to be right on them. And I thought that was interesting. I really did. I was sitting there and I was like, what? We never do that. Those are elite of the elite of the elite defenses do that. So there must be something, right? And so I went back and watched the Packers on film for the first 5 weeks. So, we played them week 6. So I watched all the Packers games on film for the first 5 weeks. And I found out that the Packers were kind of really, again, they were kind of an open book on film. Every single time Davante Adams was in motion, I'm not even joking. You can look this up for yourself. And of course, none of the media is going to talk about this because they don't actually put in the time to do research. When Davante Adams goes in motion, not really anymore, but through the first 5 weeks, he would always run a corner. He'd always run a corner route. And that's actually the exact play Jamel Dean got a pick six on. Because I was like, Jamel Dean's not like that good. How do you get a pick six against Aaron Rodgers who never throws pick sixes? On Davante Adams, who's like arguably the best receiver in the NFL this year. And so I looked at the play, and what do you know? Davante Adams motions, and Jamel Dean's literally calling out that he's going to run a corner. That's what Aaron Rodgers said in an interview after the game, on the Pat McAfee show. You can look it up. He said, yeah, they know he's going to run a corner because every single time Davante Adams gets in motion, they run a corner route. And if what do you know it? Snaps the ball. Jamel Dean already broke on the corner before Davante Adams did, making for a perfect, it looks like Aaron Rodgers went right to Jamel Dean, running back for a touchdown. And then the other interception we had again, guess what happened? Davante Adams was on Carlton Davis, who was impressed man, and what did Davante Adams run? A slant. Guess who's the best corner in the NFL defending slants? Carlton Davis is for some reason. I don't know why he is, but he is. He literally is. And he deflected up, and we got a really lucky tip pass to where it goes right into the hands of our safety, which, that's not going to happen every time. But regardless, that's a fantastic defensive play by Carlton Davis. And that easily could happen a few more times in the game. So, again, it's not impossible to get open on Carlton Davis. On Davante Adams, the way to beat him is you can just – should I be disclosing this information? I'll do it anyway. He's not going to listen. The way to really beat Carlton Davis is to run by him. Just run. Tyreek Hill had 200 yards in the first quarter. A lot of that was because there wasn't two safeties. But, how bad are you that you need two safeties that badly? If you don't have two safeties, you're going to have 200 yards to that receiver in the first quarter. That's legitimately the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard for an NFL cornerback. But again, Tyreek Hill doesn't rely on route running. He relies on speed, which is a horrible matchup for Carlton Davis. And Davante Adams is fast. And there was a play where Davante Adams ran deep and had a step on Carlton Davis. And Carlton Davis was, he just had a little step. Davante Adams had a slight step on him. But the problem is when Carlton Davis is sprinting backwards, he's not really good at predicting the timing of when the ball's going to be thrown, which, to his credit, that's really hard to do. Davante Adams knows when Aaron Rodgers is going to throw that deep ball without having to look back early and, tip off the corner when to turn around and, try to make a play on the ball, because they've been practicing together for 6-7 years now. And that's where Carlton Davis really struggles. And, they actually hit on that pass, but, Davante Adams barely had his foot out of bounds. And it was kind of one of those things where that was also kind of bad luck. The Packers just had a really bad day against us. I don't think those minor issues where we kind of got bailed out by luck, basically, I don't think those will happen again. But, so Carlton Davis, again, he can't be beat. But, if Davante Adams has a bit of an ego problem, which he probably does, because that's just what top-tier receivers do in the NFL, unless you're our top-tier receivers. I don't know why. I love it because, we'll have top-tier receivers, and they don't have any type of ego problem. Mike Evans will go 3 games without getting a catch and will not say a single word. Chris Godwin, same thing. Even, Antonio Brown hasn't said much really since he's got here, but I'm sure he's just happy to play at this point because no one was going to sign him. And which I just find that really interesting, just how, our receivers aren't teams, but everyone else is. Davante Adams is always on Twitter. He's very vocal. He's not as bad as the other ones, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, he might, what we as Bucs fans want, we want Davante Adams pissed off that he's kind of getting locked, how he got locked down by a cornerback that I want to consider elite, Carlton Davis. I want to consider him Jalen Ramsey or, Jair Alexander, who's on the Packers. I want to consider him of that tier. And Davante Adams got locked down by that guy. And so I think we want Davante Adams to think, okay, well, I don't want to get locked down with that guy. I'm going to keep running these slants. I'm going to keep running these corner routes because I want to be able – I can run a corner route on anyone. I can run a slant on anyone. If Davante Adams thinks like that and keeps, telling Aaron Rodgers in the huddle, call this play. I'm going to run a slant. I'm going to beat him. All week on film they said you can't run a slant on Carlton Davis. I'm going to do it. If he does like that, we will beat Davante Adams. I don't, the rest of the game I don't know, but – we will win that matchup between with Davante Adams. But if Davante Adams, what he should be probably doing is sitting there if Davante Adams kind of realizes that he's put the ego aside and just kind of takes what he's given and does the things that play to Carlton Davis's weakness instead of Devontae Adams just doing whatever he wants and is always getting open. So it's really just like, can Devontae Adams respect Carlton Davis's strengths as a corner? Hopefully he doesn't, and we get to pick him off a bunch of times and we get to dance in his face. I mean, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that we send all these blitzes and we knock Aaron Rodgers out of the stadium. And let me tell you this, folks. To answer the question of all questions, can the Bucs beat the Packers in Lambeau Field in 20-degree weather to advance to a home Super Bowl? Just think about that for a second. Just think about it. They can. Will they? I don't know. As you guys famously know, I never really give predictions. I'm more of a results guy. People are always like, what do you think? Are we going to win or are we going to lose? And I always say, I'll let you know after the game. My uncle always said that to me, and I kind of adopted it too, because at the end of the day, the NFL is so unpredictable. This game's going to be close, I think, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for both teams. There's really a lot on the field for both teams. And, the Bucs, we haven't even sniffed a playoff berth in 12 years. Now we're at the doorstep of a Super Bowl. Like, these opportunities, we know as fans, these opportunities do not come very often. Some teams have never even been to a Super Bowl before, like the Lions and the Jaguars and the Texans. So, to summarize what has been said so far, offensively, the Bucs need to again attack zone coverage, not get greedy with the deep ball, and be efficient. Brady understands the defenses. Make sure them and the receivers are on the same page. Don't call deep shots every single third and short, Byron. Don't do it. We want to go to a Super Bowl, Byron. Defensively, again, man coverage, but a little bit of zone, a little bit, just to shake it up, to make sure if they keep running man beaters, we need to mix in that zone there. The exotic blitzes, that's what killed Green Bay last time. We had this one play specifically where Shaq Barrett was the middle linebacker, Levante David was the defensive end. Devin White was playing like a nickel, nickel coverage, and then we had someone else who was weird in there too. I think we had 3 defensive ends or something, and then when the ball was snapped, they all shifted, and it was we got a sack, and it was I was even kind of confused looking at it. I was like, what is this? And I've heard a lot of people talk about that too, because there's one guy I was listening to. He was like, because I really didn't understand it, because since I've been watching, I've been trying to take note of things, of fronts, of strategies. And I looked at I kept looking at that. I was like, I really don't even understand. It worked. It was awesome, and I love it. But I wanted to understand it. And I tried to look up some videos, and this one guy was like, yeah, to be honest, this guy has been studying the NFL for 30 years on YouTube. And he's like, yeah, I have never in my entire life seen this before. This is why Todd Bowles is like low-key a genius. Because every now and then he'll dial up something like this where I can't even, as a professional NFL expert analysis, I can't even explain it. That's what he said. And I was like, all right then, I like it. That's the fun stuff. When you blitz, you sit in the house, but obviously it has to hit home. Lately, we've been sending blitzes and they don't get home, and then we get exposed. Exhibit A, Washington. Every time we sent a blitz, he would scramble out, he'd run for a bunch of yards, or he'd scramble out and the guy would be wide open. And in the Saints game, we would send a blitz and Drew Brees would just sit back there for another 20 seconds and there would not even be a guy within 3 feet of him. I don't know why we cannot blitz against the Saints. It's always been the case. But the blitzes against Green Bay last time, they worked, and they worked really, really well, and we're going to have to be able to do it again. So again, a little bit of man, a lot, mostly man, a little bit of zone. Exotic blitzes, right? Make them confused. Make them as confused as possible. And hopefully, I was talking about how the Bucs, a lot of the reasons why their cornerbacks look so good is they were able to predict a lot of the plays that happened, a lot of the run plays that were kind of given away about when, Aaron Jones would run a route versus block. Every time Devontae Adams was in motion, he ran a corner route. on the screen passes. They were kind of an open book, like I said, and they fixed a lot of those issues because when Aaron Rodgers commented on it after the game that they have to work on kind of disguising their looks, and obviously they've been able to do that. They have a 13-3 record, and it's a lot. I was noticing this on film too. It's a lot less predictable what they're going to do. Hopefully the Bucs have been able to really dive in because at the end of the day, I'm just a guy watching film, trying to do my best here. There are NFL players and NFL coaches that are going to be reading this a lot better than me, and again, they're going to need it. Hopefully, the Bucs can find some film that exposes what the Packers are trying to do because that was pretty much the main reason why we won, that in the pass rush. So hopefully we can do that again, but that's kind of less of a guarantee. We really need the pass rush again, and then if we can kind of predict some other plays, that'd be really nice. And this is going to be a close one, guys. This is going to be a close one, and all I can say is if the Bucs lose this game, I'll make a podcast about it, and I'll be mad, and I'll say why I thought we lost, and I'll do all these things, and then probably a week will go by, and I'm going to make a video, and I'm just gonna say it. Like, no matter really what, I am so proud of this team. I mean, we're in the NFC Championship game. I mean, this is like the happiest I've been as a fan, like ever, for any team, ever. Like, it's amazing. I mean, we're in the NFC Champ. We're a top 4 team in the NFL. That's absurd to me. How we just went from bad, horrible, good. I never really thought it would happen like that because even it's like weird. Like, I don't really think we were that good. Like, going into the playoffs, like I thought we were, at our peak, we're great, but it's been so inconsistent. I was like, But now we're in the conference championship. It's been weird, and I love it though. I love it. It's just weird, and it's something that I have to get used to. Like, my football team is going to be playing in the conference championship this week. Like, that's literally insane, especially. There's a lot of longtime fans out there, you people watching, and it's. I mean, 2003 was the last time we were in a conference championship game. We know how that season ended. Hopefully, it's going to be a similar one. And let's just hope we win. Let's just hope we win, and if you have a home Super Bowl, and you already know I'm going back. Hashtag send Will home. Send Bucs Planet home. That's going to be the new thing. Hashtag send him home, and it's going to be me. I'm the him. Because if the Bucs advance to the Super Bowl, I'm going home. I will be in Tampa when that happens. So hashtag send Will home. Hashtag send the Bucs home. I'm so excited for this. I can't really talk that loud because I feel weird. I'm in the empty study room, even though there's no one in here. It kind of has like this echo, so I'm trying not to get last time I was like, but we're trying to calm it down this time. So again, this was a very informative episode. But those are the keys to winning. And hopefully the Bucs can just, execute everything that we need to. Special teams too. I don't really mention that, but I mean the punt coverage. I mean, tackle the guy Mickens. Good grief, that needs to improve. Hopefully we're not punting that much, but if we are, we need to be able to tackle the punt returner and not have to rely on a block in the back for them to call the touchdown back, because they literally basically had 2 back-to-back touchdowns, which. Thank goodness the first one that the Saints had, I thought they were going to score. Then we saw them at the 10, and I was like, okay, well, they're going to score. They're literally at the 10-yard line, and then we held them to a field goal. I was like, wow. So that was actually a big tackle there, but you know what I mean. The special teams does not give up that kind of yardage for on the punt coverage. So yeah, this is big game tomorrow, and let's just hope we can win and we can have a good time. I'm going to go absolutely ballistically insane if we win this game. Like, I just want to put that out there. I'm going to be off the rails if we win this game, and hopefully I will be. And that's it for this episode. Make sure to watch the game on Sunday at 3:05 p.m. As always, go Bucs, baby.